I think one thing that's helped me a lot is having like reminders for myself, not just of what I want, but the fact that it's real, I guess. And so like I'll watch certain YouTube
Mhm.
creators or like follow certain Instagram pages that just remind me of like, okay, these are the type of people that inspire me or like help me like very tangibly see who I want to become. Because a lot of my friends and community, they're great and I love them, but they're not necessarily aiming for the same thing that I'm aiming for. So when I see other people posting stuff like of their college experience, I'm like, that's awesome. I'm glad you're having a great time. But it can be so distracting for me because I'm like, wait, what did I want again? And then I keep scrolling. I'm like, okay, cool. Somebody else that I'm following posted something that's like, hey, wake up. Like you know what you're doing. Just stay focused.
Yeah. The power of like role models and representation and seeing other people doing what you want to do, like that's something else. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
I could be in a field where you did not, like, where you were the first of something. I
Hmm.
mean, you didn't have anybody else that have has been there before you.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe on one hand, I bet there's a bunch of freedom in knowing that there is no blueprint ahead of you,
Mm.
that there is no ceiling, you can just run at the wide open. But on the other hand, it's like, wow, we're running at this wide open and nobody's been here before. Nobody can tell me what to do when I get here.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've been thinking about that too because I do the same thing. Like I'm trying to declutter my news feeds and who I follow and
Mm-hmm.
what voices that I hear in my life and keep in my life for sure to be ones that are representative of where I want to be in life or just people that are not necessarily at their best, but trying to achieve their best self
Mm-hmm.
that are always
Mm-hmm.
in evolution, that are always changing,
Yeah.
and that are not afraid to, I guess, mess up in all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that there is a level to which you are the first in what you're doing. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but for me personally, like when even those people that I'm following that I find are role models or representatives, it's like one thing from this person, one thing from this person, one thing from this person, because there's not really anybody that I know of who is who I want to be. When I first started watching YouTube in I don't know, like middle school, high school area, I couldn't really find any Zimbabwean YouTubers. And so I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I guess I'm gonna watch. I know sometimes it'd be like other African YouTubers or just like YouTubers in general. Like it started getting really broad. It was like, I'm just gonna watch people who are making videos. And then it was like, oh, as now, like, oh, there are African YouTubers. I can watch some of them, or there are people who've lived in Kenya, but even the people who've lived in Kenya didn't live the same life that I lived in Kenya. And then the fact that I grew up as part of like the Zimbabwean diaspora. And so like I'm Zimbabwean, but I grew up very differently than my parents did. And
Yeah.
as the internet has grown, there are more people who I can relate to more. But at the same time, there's constantly this like filter on in my mind of like, okay, but they lived slightly differently, so you can't directly relate to them, and it can be very
Mhm.
dangerous when you're like, oh, that person's doing that thing, I should be doing that thing, or like, oh, I should be going in that path. But you didn't start off in the same place. Your background's not the same.
Yeah.
Dangerous when you're like, oh, we're the same. We're not.
Yeah. I agree with that. I definitely do. I mean, I find that like that same truth quite a bit in my life too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like I gotta find my own path. At the same time, as you said, you pick pieces. It can be kind of like a
Mm-hmm.
scavenger hunt. You find different things from different people that you're like, I like that aspect of them. I like this aspect of them. I like this aspect of this person. But I also really like myself.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Has it been a journey getting to that point, to that statement?
um,
Or do you feel like that has been inherently a part of you your whole life of like, yeah, I quite like myself.
Oh, that statement. I thought you meant like being okay with my path.
Oh, that too.
I don't know. Well, both have been journeys.
Yeah.
Let me not even hesitate on that.
Yeah.
I think it's only this year, and I'm just starting to learn why. I read this book called Untamed by Glennon Doyle, suggesting it to everybody. It's written for women, but like it's phenomenal. But just about these messages that we internalize, right? And especially like as women, how we're told, oh, okay, just be humble, just be modest, just downplay how great you can be. Somebody gives us a compliment and it's like, all right, how do I like take that compliment? I'm just now learning in the past like year or so with the help of my friends. And let me just say, 2G, he's a hype man, okay? He really is. But
Sorry, just a second. I'm still listening. Yes.
I'm just now being like, yeah, I am pretty great. Thank you very much. I am pretty unique. All these things that like people have been telling me
Mm-hmm.
that make me special, and all these reasons people have been giving me to like myself, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just now being like, yeah, I am a good writer.
Mm-hmm.
I am good at this. I will own these parts of me.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side, you also have to own, the parts of you that need improvement. But that's not all you have to own. We're not either or. We're we're both.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
surprised.
that.
Well, okay,
Hmm,
I'm not surprised because I'm very critical of myself, but I'm also surprised that, like you mentioned specifically, like, oh, I am a good writer. In my mind,
mm-hmm.
like watching you, I always been like, Karen's amazing, and everybody knows Karen's an amazing writer, and that's crazy and that's awesome. So it's just interesting hearing you say that. No, that took a second to sink in.
Oh, you know what what's crazy? I think it was like 3 months ago. Was that 3 months ago? Yeah, it actually was about three or so months ago. Right, I finished writing my book, and like my
Mm-hmm.
editor had gone through it, and I was on a call with Tuji, and I said, Tuji, like this is actually like good work. Like I did a good job. And
Yeah.
he stopped me and he was like, that is the first time you have ever complimented your own writing. And I was like, you're right though.
Mm.
Mostly, and I do it because I'm very self-critical as well. And
Mm-hmm.
also I'm very competitive. Like
Mm. I would have never
very
guessed.
competitive. um I kind of got more into writing because of Kofi, and then because I was like, I will not be left behind. He writes, I'm gonna write too. He's gonna write a book, I'm gonna write one before he does. He's
Mm.
gonna perform in this, I'm gonna perform in this too. You know? And so part of that competitiveness is also just like this insatiable need to improve. Like there
Mm.
is no
Yeah,
ceiling.
yeah,
So
yeah.
for me to say I'm good, sometimes I think that good is the ceiling. But it's like, why be good when you can be great? And
Mm.
if you're gonna be great, why not be phenomenal? Like the ceiling keeps rising, and I'm slowly learning that like to say and to own my strengths doesn't mean that I'm cutting myself off there.
Mm.
My potential is above that. So I'm slowly learning that too. Like you can be proud of yourself and want more of yourself at the same time, which is something that writer Alexi Pappas always says. That was like one of the times I like fell in love with her writing and
Yeah.
like her running and her mindset about it all, because I was like, how do I sum up this? I made it here, and this is impressive what I am doing in life right now.
Mm.
But I still have work to do.
Mm.
So yeah.
I'm just letting that sink in. I oh that the whole you can be proud of where you're at and proud of who you are, and like still want more at the same time. Oh, I feel like that takes. Wow. Okay, I had a light on in my room. It just switched off. Just a second. So as I was looking for the 2 questions that I asked you, um, that I had planned out, I was like going through my notebook and I found this like little poem slash thought thing. It was talking about the fact that I'm not what I do, and that I'm proud that I've reached a point where I don't believe that what I do is directly tied to my identity and my worth. But then, of course, the poem doesn't stop there. It's not like, I'm proud of myself. Next thing was that I still want things that I don't have, and I still want to be in a place where I'm not yet. And I'm struggling with accepting that where I am isn't who I am. And so it's like, okay, I know that what I do is not who I am, but also the place that I am and the situation that I'm in right now isn't my identity either. And that, I feel like that's the next level for me, being like, okay, but this isn't that either.
I told myself this like 2 weeks ago as well, because I currently am living with my parents right now, which like it's great. We're having a great time. I'm ready to go, but like we're having a great time. And I'm also like working at Starbucks in Target, or well was, and I was like, our dishwasher broke at my job, and so I'm like hand washing dishes in the sink, and I told myself, I looked up and I said, one day this is going to be a great story, you know. Granted, I live to tell it, but to say, you know, in 2020 I was out deep in like dishwater washing dishes in the back of Starbucks at, you know, 9 o'clock at night, and now I'm here, wherever here is that life leads me. So I also just keep telling myself, like, we as humans aren't meant to be static. We're not meant to stall. We're meant to keep evolving and keep changing if we let ourselves.
Yeah.
And we live in such a society, in such a world, and I find it very evident in America, especially with our political system, because, you know, you're either Democratic or Republican. I mean, there are independents, but, you know, you don't meet a lot of them. You're either or here, either for this or you're for that. Or they say, oh, so you're pro-black, so you must be anti-cop, or you're this, so you must be this. It's very polarized, very binary, and it's like, why can't it be all? Why can't I be all? And even the labels that we put on ourselves, like, this is what masculine is. This is what it means to be feminine. This is what it means to be a man. This is what it means to be a woman. Like, this is what it means to be successful, to be not. We put ourselves in these boxes, but it's like, what if we want to be more than those boxes?
Yeah.
That is something as well that I am wrapping my head around when it comes to who I am and the potential that I have and what I am doing and where I'm going in life.
Yeah.
It's slowly breaking out of those molds and saying, I will define my own life and my own success and what I am doing on my own terms. And it's not, you know, it doesn't look the same every day or every month. But that's also why I write down in my journal everything that I do to get me closer to my goals. Because I'm like, I can be proud of this evolution. It's slow. This growth isn't always pretty, but it is growth.
Yeah. Going back to the dishwashing moment, do you think that possibly it is a good story even now? Like, you talked about how you go to work and then you come home and you still choose to write and you still choose to paint. And that whole painting thing, that's a whole nother topic. But but like, first of all, like the fact that you are putting in that work and you are choosing to do both. Like you are choosing to go to work
Yeah.
and you're also
Yeah.
choosing to be creative, which in itself is also work. But I think I also tend to think like, oh, in the future, this will matter. In the future, this will be
Mm-hmm.
important. But then I
Mm-hmm.
also wonder, and it's definitely easier for me to say this about your life, not necessarily about my life, like that as well, but like this is a good story now. Like when I go to sleep, this is a good story. And this is important and this has value even now.
Got me there. You did. Um, okay, one thing that I have been towing the line about as well is because so many doors have closed in my life, and because I'm getting more of a social media presence, not like huge, but like more of one, it's like how much do I share of my life? How much do I share of my goals in life? And then what do I tell everybody when doors close, you know? And so that's been like, do I just want to keep my head down and grind in silence and then pop up and then say, look at where I am now? This
Yeah.
is what I did to get here. So I've kind of subscribed to that fact as well. Like, I don't owe everybody in my life the nitty gritty of what I do every day. But then on the flip side, so much of me wants to, stand on the edge of the world and say, look at everything that I am doing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, my daily week, and this is also another reason I started dance as well. But my daily week would be, working 40 hours or a little bit less. And then like I'd go to work for 8 hours and then I try to play some soccer. I see a strength trainer twice a week. And then I also try to write every day. And then on the days I don't see my trainer, then I'm trying to run. And so to be putting that much work every week, it's like this is a grind. Like we are accomplishing something here. And so part of me just wants to tell everybody, look at what I am doing. Another
Yeah.
part of me is like, just be patient in this. Like, be patient in this season. Wait until there's
Yeah.
opportunities that pop up.
Mhm.
Um, but you're right. Like, it is a good story now.
Yeah.
It's a good enough story for myself,
Mm.
if
Yeah.
for no one else.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
really bad about creating and not sharing it.
Mm,
Because like the whole point in my mind, like the whole point I like the whole reason I write is for other people. Like
mm,
my words are like I want them to be a gift to other people and I want them to mean
yeah.
something to other people and like if it was just for me, like I don't know, I spend my whole day talking to myself. Like I don't know, like
Uh-huh.
I think there is value in just creating and creating for the sake of creating and just for yourself and I do that. Like there's so many things that I've made that nobody's ever
Mm-hmm.
seen. But at the same time, I'm like, well, I just want to share what I'm doing and I just want to put it everywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
like if people don't necessarily interact with it or don't really care about it, I still want it there.
Mm-hmm.
And so like in high school, I
Yeah.
started a blog and I didn't tell anybody about it for a really long time. And then I would send the links to specific posts to certain people, but I wouldn't like share on my Facebook. I was like, no, nobody needs to know about this. I just,
Mm-hmm.
but it was important for me to put that
Yeah.
stuff out there and to get into the habit of like, this is for somebody else. This isn't like my words are mine, but they're also not mine. Like they're not my own. They're not for
Yeah,
me
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
have myself. And so that balance, like I have no idea where it is. Like I don't know
Yeah.
capable of such balance in regards to that.
Yeah. I think it really sometimes depends on what exactly you are working on.
Mm,
Because, right, I would agree, like my Instagram posts and my blog posts, I mean, yeah, they're for me, but they're also for everybody else. Like,
right,
those are my gifts to everybody else. But
right.
then my side projects, like my book and A lot of my painting as well, in fact. That's for me.
Yeah. What has been your experience with moving from, I guess, your art in like all senses of that word, your art being something for you and something for fun, and even like with soccer, like it being something that
Mm-hmm.
you love and something that you do, to something that's become a performance or like a shared thing.
Mm-hmm.
So going from
Mm-hmm.
playing football on the weekends to, oh, now I have a game and I have to show up for that game. Or
Yeah.
I'm going to paint something for me, but now it's, oh, it's going to go up in a gallery. Or now I'm sharing it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, how has your experience with that been?
First of all, the more that I publicize my life and the more that I share my life, the more I feel the need to tighten my circles.
Yeah.
The more I say I need stuff just for me and just for me and like my close friend circles.
Hmm.
So the in and outs of every day, that's not for everybody else to see. They can see me on game day. They can see my art in the gallery. They don't have to necessarily see the process, or they can see what part of the process that I feel like sharing. That gives myself a barrier, like a boundary of allowing myself to muddle through everything else to get to those game days, to get to the gallery show
Hmm.
without feeling like everybody's watching.
Hmm.
But it also, for me at least, is a mentality. And a lot of it is an athlete's mentality. Like, and I don't know, I've never not been an athlete. So maybe it's also like not an athlete mentality. I couldn't tell you. But, and I'm not always this great at it, but it's like every second and everything that I do, it is a chance to build character. And I
Mm.
say this like I'm not great at this. You know, like yesterday I went and bought Dairy Queen Blizzards because I wanted sugar. Um, but the more that I can practice and the more that I stay in this mentality of everything matters. How you practice matters. How you live matters. If you do so with intentionality, when it does, you're playing against another team. Yeah, maybe the stakes are higher, but it's still the same game that you love. It's
Mm.
still, you're still going just as hard in games as you do in practices.
Yeah.
You know, like all of that, I try to prepare myself in that way. I try to be the best prepared that I can be.
Mm.
So in painting, I want to practice, you know, my brush strokes. I want to practice the technique before I hit my final canvas. I want to do all the sketches.
Hmm.
Or on the flip side, sometimes I just let go. You say you've done enough work by now. You know you can do it. So now it's the other side is just trusting yourself. When the moment comes, when you put pen to paper, when you get on the pitch, you say, I've done this. Like, I know how to do this.
Hmm.
But that takes practice. To have that kind of confidence takes hours and hours to practice. And allowing yourself to not be perfect. As they always said in the drama department, we pursue excellence, not perfection.
Hmm.
So for me, I want to be excellent, but I don't need to be perfect.
Yeah. Do you find that those spaces of practice are freeing, or do they feel like work? The more, like, the better that you
Mm,
become, and like you said, the more eyes there are on you, like on your final
mhm.
product, do you find that those practice spaces are good? I can't think of a better word than that, but good, or do you?
Yeah, I have to like check in with myself every little bit to make sure that I am still having fun and it's just still what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I also have to find other things to balance, you know, that side. So that's part of the reason I would play soccer most days and then I would go running and then I'd see my trainer and then I'd do art and I'd do writing. And I love all those things, but it felt like a job. It really felt like a job. So that's why I started dance classes because that was my hour where nothing. I didn't have to do any of those things. That's why I like to watch movies. I don't have to do any of those things. So for me, it's finding a balance because I don't want to make it my life. I
Yeah.
don't want to make my work my life. Um, and sometimes it does feel like a chore, but sometimes as well, on the times it does feel like, I have to write another poem or I have to do this.
Hmm.
Then I then I check myself hard and I say, you're building the life that you want to live.
Yeah.
If this isn't what you want, say the word and you get out of it. But
Yeah.
if this is what you want, you're gonna stick it.
Yeah. Yeah, for
So
sure. I think it's definitely
yeah.
been a practice for me to turn back the things that I love into
Mm,
fun and not into work. For example,
mhm.
like watching movies and watching TV shows and YouTube videos, I love it so much. But I do
Uh-huh.
catch myself watching them and thinking, wow, this is really good writing. And wow, the way they did that dialogue. And that's great to appreciate details like that. But it just starts being like, oh, I wonder how I can incorporate that into my writing. Oh, I wonder what
Mhm.
it would look like if I were to do blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, just chill. Just
Yeah.
watch the movie. Don't
Yeah.
think too hard about the fact that, like, for example, in Frozen 2, a song at the very beginning connects to one of the plot points, like, towards the end of the movie, and I was blown away by that. And it's like, don't worry about it. Like, just watch it. Enjoy it. Don't try to figure it out. Don't deconstruct it. Just watch it. Fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I think especially now, and I think this is what quarantine is doing for a lot of people, um, is they're having to rewire. They're having to learn
Mm,
how to relax. And then they're having to learn how to, motivate and self-motivate. And that's where I think you and I might have a little bit of a leg up
yeah.
because we've been doing this the past 2 years,
Yeah.
self-motivating and learning how to relax and where that line is of overwork and,
Mm-hmm.
you and not to say that, we're perfect or like we're better than everybody else, but just we've had 2 years to try to work our way through this. And a lot of people right now are stuck at home, like, all right, what do we do?
Yeah. Said 2 years alone with our brains with nothing else. And so it's like, okay, cool, cool.
Yeah,
How
uh-huh,
do I relate
uh-huh.
to the world? Not how do me and my group of friends relate to the world? It's like,
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. The more that I'm learning, the more that I'm like, I am still me without my group of friends, you
mm,
know? And to figure out a separate identity other than your group of friends
uh,
is always a challenge because you're like, oh, yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean, I hang out with athletes, but I'm also an artist. I hang out with artists, but I'm also whatever. It's
yeah,
given people as well, like, a chance to learn new things.
yeah,
If all they do is their work or all they do is something else, now in quarantine, they're like, oh, I guess I gotta do something else.
mm-hmm,
Whereas for me, and it sounds like you, we dabble.
yeah,
We have our things that we love, but yet we're dabbling in other things as well to say, we don't know what our ceiling is, we don't know what our reach is.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, for sure.
So
Okay,
I'm just,
so I could go
yeah.
on and on and on. And honestly, we only got through two of the five questions that I have written down, which is awesome. So I am gonna wrap this up because it's been like, when did we start talking? I think it's been an hour, maybe
It
more.
probably has been.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna wrap this up. Do you have any last things? Oh, I know what my final question is for you. Okay. So if you could say three words, only three words to people right now during this self-isolation pandemic period, what would you say?
I think I would say breathe, cry, and laugh.
Hmm, that's good. I'm
Yeah.
torn. Oh, I guess I can't use a preface. Never
Mm-mm.
mind, not that one. Um, try be patient, I guess. Yeah. I won't elaborate since I said we shouldn't. But okay.
That has
That's
me
really
thinking.
hard.
I was like on the edge of my seat. Explain.
It was so good talking to you. Thank
Yes.
you for doing this with me.
Yeah, this was so wonderful. Thank you for reaching out. Like,
Yeah.
you're one of the people that like I don't talk to like on a daily, but like
Yeah.
when I talk with you, like it just falls back into place. So
Feel the same way.
thank you so much.
Yeah, now I need to hit up Kofi and see if he'll do this with me.